Tokyo's neon streets never sleep. But sometimes, in the rush of strangers and the hum of trains, two souls collide in ways that change everything. Akira walked with the usual rhythm of a student, burdened by expectations. His father wanted him to become an architect. His mother wanted him to marry a proper girl. And Akira wanted nothing more than to escape the weight pressing on his shoulders. May, on the other hand, was fire. She carried sketchbooks filled with half-finished dreams, colors spilling over the margins, and laughter that could silence the chaos of Shibuya's busiest crossing. She lived on the edge of uncertainty, working at a small cafe by day and painting late into the night, chasing a vision no one else seemed to understand. It was raining the night they met. Akira stood beneath the awning of a bookstore, checking his watch, his umbrella forgotten at home. May darted into the same spot, dripping wet, clutching her sketchbook like it was the only thing worth saving from the storm. Their eyes met. "Sorry," she said, shaking rain from her hair. "You should be careful," Akira replied, more serious than he intended. "That book looks more important to you than your own health." She laughed, the sound quick and warm. "It is." The storm forced them into conversation. Small words turned into stories. He learned she dreamed of painting the walls of Tokyo with murals so big they couldn't be ignored. She learned that he sketched buildings not for passion, but for duty. Something in her defiance unsettled him, and something in his quiet steadiness drew her in. When the rain stopped, neither of them moved. "You don't belong here," May said softly. "Neither do you," Akira answered. And in that unspoken moment, they both knew this meeting was more than coincidence. If you want to see where this love story goes, through passion, heartbreak, betrayal, and redemption, make sure to hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. The city moved fast, but Akira and May began to move in their own rhythm. At first it was simple. Late-night walks under lantern-lit streets, quiet dinners at ramen shops, where steam curled between them like secrets, and long conversations that stretched until dawn. May made Akira laugh in ways he hadn't in years. She teased him about his neatly pressed shirts, his methodical steps, his habit of counting coins before paying for coffee. He teased her about the paint stains on her fingers, the way she forgot umbrellas on sunny days, and how she'd get lost in her own sketches even in the middle of a crowded train. Their differences felt like magnets, opposites pulling closer. But slowly, those same differences began to tug them apart. "Why do you always look at life like it's a schedule?" May asked one evening, her voice edged with frustration as they stood outside a gallery she hoped to join. "Because if I don't, everything falls apart," Akira answered, his tone sharper than he meant. "Not everyone can afford to live without a plan." Silence pressed between them. The truth was, May's freedom scared him, while his discipline suffocated her. And yet, after every quarrel, they found themselves circling back. A text at midnight, a meeting at dawn, a quiet apology whispered in the shadows of the city. Akira's friends noticed his absences at study groups. Moi's coworkers noticed the way she smiled at her phone during breaks, but not everyone approved. "She's not the kind of girl you bring home," Akira's cousin warned him. "Artists don't make good wives." "And your boyfriend?" one of May's coworkers teased. "He looks like he's already married to his textbooks." The world outside pressed against them, but inside their fragile bubble, the pull of affection outweighed the noise. One night, Akira brought May to the top of a half-finished building he was helping survey. The city sprawled beneath them, endless lights shimmering like stars that had fallen to earth. "This is what I want to build," Akira murmured. "And this," May whispered, touching his hand, "is what I want to paint." The moment was perfect, but in the back of their minds lingered the same fear. How long could two people so different keep holding on before something broke? Love can burn brightest when it is tested, and for Akira and Mei, the sparks were turning into fire. Their moments of joy became sharper, their laughter louder, but so were their arguments. Akira worked long hours on his university projects, sometimes disappearing for days into libraries and drafting rooms. Mei felt left behind, watching him chase a future she didn't believe belonged to him. "You don't even see me anymore," she snapped one evening, when he arrived late to her small art show, sweat on his brow from running. "I'm here, aren't I?" he shot back, frustration cracking his usually calm voice. But being there wasn't enough. Mei wanted him to feel her dreams as deeply as she carried his expectations. He wanted her to understand the weight of the family legacy resting on his shoulders. The gap between them widened, and yet every fight seemed to end the same way, with tears, soft apologies, and the desperate pull of two hearts refusing to let go. One night, after hours of silence following a bitter quarrel, Mei whispered, "What if we're just too different?" Akira's hand tightened around hers. "Then I'll learn your differences until they're part of me." That promise held her for a while, but fate had another way of testing them. A few weeks later, Mei stood in front of the bathroom mirror, her hands trembling around a small white stick. 2 lines. The world tilted. She sat on the floor, clutching her stomach, tears falling without sound. When she finally told Akira, his face went pale. He sank onto the edge of the bed, his breath caught somewhere between panic and awe. "A baby," he whispered. "Yes," she said, voice breaking. "Ours." Silence swallowed them both. For Mei, it was terrifying but strangely hopeful. For Akira, it was an earthquake shaking the foundation of his carefully constructed life. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted. "Neither am I," Mei said softly. "But ready or not, it's real." They sat together, the city lights flickering through the window, the sound of distant traffic filling the silence they didn't know how to break. It should have been a moment of unity. Instead, it became the beginning of a new fracture. The news of the pregnancy didn't stay private for long. Mai had barely begun adjusting to the idea herself when Akira's family found out. His mother's disapproval cut like a blade. "You are supposed to carry on our name with dignity," she told him. "Not with a girl who paints walls and has no future." Akira stood silent, fists clenched. Mei overheard enough to know she wasn't welcome. Her chest ached, but she kept her head high. The pressure grew heavier with every passing day. Akira was torn between defending Mei and trying not to sever the bond with his family. The weight of tradition pressed down, and in his silence, Mei felt abandoned. Late nights turned into arguments. "You don't fight for me," she accused. "I'm fighting in ways you can't see," he insisted. But his words didn't match his actions. He was gone more often. Meetings, projects, dinners with relatives who barely acknowledged Mei's existence. She told herself to trust him, but doubt gnawed at her. Then came the message. A friend showed Mei a photo. Akira at a bar, leaning close to another woman. Laughter too intimate, his hand brushing her arm. When Mei confronted him, her voice shook with betrayal. "Tell me it's not what it looks like." Akira hesitated, just long enough for her to know. Tears blurred her vision as she pushed him away. "I gave you everything, even this child, and you couldn't even give me honesty." He reached for her, desperate, but she stepped back, one hand over her stomach, the other wiping tears she couldn't control. "I don't want excuses," she whispered. "I wanted you." And with that, the fragile thread holding them together snapped. Akira stood frozen, the weight of his mistake crashing down. But Mei was already walking away, carrying not just her broken heart, but the life of the child who hadn't asked for any of this. The apartment felt hollow after May left. Her sketchbooks were gone, her laughter erased from the walls. Only the faint smell of turpentine and coffee lingered, mocking Akira with reminders of what he had lost. Mai stayed in a small rented room, above a shop in Shinjuku. It was quiet, almost too quiet, but at least it was hers. Each night she laid a hand on her stomach, whispering promises to the child she would raise, even if it meant doing it alone. Her days blurred into routine, working extra shifts, sketching when she could, trying to silence the ache that lived inside her. Friends offered sympathy, but she turned them away. She didn't want pity. She wanted the family she thought she had built with Akira. Akira, meanwhile, spiraled. He drowned in guilt, replaying the night of his betrayal over and over. The fleeting moment of weakness with another woman meant nothing compared to what he had destroyed. But May's silence was louder than any punishment. One evening, he saw her across the street, arms wrapped around her growing belly. He wanted to call her name, to run to her, but his feet refused to move. Shame chained him in place. She glanced his way once, her eyes cold and unreadable, then disappeared into the crowd. The loneliness crushed them both in different ways. May cried into her pillow at night, hating herself for still loving him. Akira wandered through the city, stopping at the cafe where they once shared tea, at the mural wall she had dreamed of painting, haunted by echoes of her voice. When her health began to strain under the stress, May finally confided in a doctor. "You need support," he said gently. "Stress isn't just hurting you, it's hurting the baby. Support." The word pierced her. She had cut herself off from the one person who should have been there. But could she ever forgive him? Akira wrote letters he never sent, pages soaked in regret and desperation. "I failed you. I failed us. But I still love you." The words stayed folded in his pocket, crumpled but unread. Both hearts beat for each other, yet the wall between them grew higher with every passing day. Winter settled over Tokyo, crisp air carrying the scent of roasted chestnuts and the hush of falling snow. May walked slowly through the park, one hand resting on her round belly, her scarf pulled tight against the cold. Every step reminded her that soon, life would change forever. She sat on a bench, watching children chase each other under the pale glow of lanterns. A warmth spread through her, fragile but real. For the first time in months, she let herself imagine joy again. Then she heard his voice, "Mai." Akira stood a few feet away, snowflakes catching in his hair, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She froze, heart pounding. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I had to," he said, breath visible in the cold. "I've made mistakes. I betrayed you. But every day since, I've carried nothing but regret." Her eyes burned with unshed tears. "Do you think sorry will erase what you did? I trusted you with everything, our child, our future, and you broke it." "I know," he said, stepping closer. His voice cracked. "But I can't let our story end in silence. This child deserves a father who fights for him. And you," he swallowed hard, "you deserve someone who never stops trying to be better." For a long moment, May said nothing. Snow gathered on her coat, on his shoulders, on the ground between them that felt as wide as an ocean. Finally, she whispered, "Why should I believe you?" Akira knelt in the snow, not caring who saw. "Because I've already lost you once, and it nearly destroyed me. I'll spend every day proving I will never make that mistake again. Please, May, give me one more chance." Her chest tightened. Every instinct screamed to protect herself, to stay angry, to keep the walls up. But as she looked into his trembling eyes, she saw not the man who betrayed her, but the man who once held her hand beneath the rain, who had dreamed with her under city lights, who was begging not just for forgiveness, but for a future. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she whispered, "This isn't just about us anymore." Akira nodded, voice steady. "I know. It's about family, and I want ours with you." Slowly, she reached out her hand. He took it, pressing it to his lips, eyes closing, as if it were salvation itself. The snow kept falling, soft and silent, wrapping them in a fragile peace. Two broken hearts, stitched together again. Not perfect, but real. And for the first time in a long time, May allowed herself to believe that love, even scarred by betrayal, could still bloom. The months after their reconciliation were not easy, but Akira and May faced them together. When their son was born, tiny cries filling the hospital room, Akira wept openly for the first time in years. Mai held the child against her chest, exhausted yet radiant, and whispered, "We made it." Sleepless nights followed. Bottles at 3 a.m., lullabies whispered in the dim glow of a lamp. Moments of frustration softened by the sight of their son's small fingers curling around theirs. Ma discovered a strength she didn't know she had, while Akira learned that fatherhood was not about perfection, but presence. Their apartment was cramped, paint-stained sketches taped on the fridge beside Akira's architectural drafts, but it pulsed with warmth. They argued still, about chores, about money, about the balance between work and parenthood. But their fights ended in shared laughter more often than slammed doors. Akira's family, though hesitant at first, could not resist the pull of a grandchild's smile. Slowly, old wounds began to heal. May, once dismissed as unsuitable, was now seen as the mother of their legacy. One evening, standing on the balcony as Tokyo's skyline glittered, Akira wrapped his arms around May from behind. Their son slept inside, and for the first time in a long time, peace settled between them. "This is our home," he murmured. "No," Mai corrected gently, leaning her head against his chest. "This is our beginning." Years later, the rhythm of their lives had changed. Their son, now running through the park, with laughter echoing, became the center of their world, but not its limit. Mai finally painted her first public mural, a burst of color stretching across a city wall, depicting a family holding hands beneath falling rain. Crowds stopped to watch her work, some recognizing the emotion that poured from her brush. For the first time, her art wasn't hidden in sketchbooks. It breathed on the streets. Akira's career flourished too. He earned recognition for designing sustainable buildings that blended modern Tokyo lines with traditional Japanese aesthetics. At his first major award ceremony, he searched the crowd until he found May and their son waving proudly. They had once been two people pulled apart by fear, betrayal, and doubt. Now they were partners who had weathered storms together and emerged stronger. On the night of his award, Akira kissed May's forehead and whispered, "Thank you for believing in us when I couldn't." She smiled, her eyes reflecting both past pain and present joy. "We're not perfect," she said, "but we're real, and that's enough." Tokyo's lights shimmered outside their window, but inside, their little family glowed brighter still.